Let's begin by offering our respects to the founder Acharya of ISKCON, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Jai.
Om Jnana I'm sorry. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
So what did we see in the previous class? We finished chapter number
2.
Okay. What's the title of chapter 2?
Prayers by demigods.
For Lord Krishna and the womb.
Yes,
Yeah.
prayers by the demigods for Lord Krishna in the womb. Very nice. So what were the demigods praying in the last section that we saw in the previous class? One very, very important point was that the Lord is not different from his name. There is no difference between the Lord and his name, which is why the chanting of his holy name is so very important. The example we saw is that one cannot taste mango just by chanting mango, mango, mango. But if a devotee chants the name of the Lord, then Krishna is that name. He is not different from his name. So there is no difference between the Lord, his name, even his leelas, his form. There is no difference between all these things. So this is a very important point that the demigods made in their prayers. Why are the demigods offering prayers? Especially to pacify Devaki. Devaki is afraid because Kamsa has already killed 6 of her children and now Krishna in the womb. So she is afraid. And therefore, in order to pacify Mother Devaki, these demigods appear and they offer prayers to Krishna in the womb. And after they offer prayers, then the demigods along with Brahma, Lord Shiva, they all departed to their respective abodes. So with this, we ended the second chapter. Today we will be starting chapter number 3. Let me share the screen. So chapter 3 is titled The Birth of Lord Krishna. Now Krishna comes out of the womb of Devaki. But before we begin, we need volunteers. One volunteer. Who can read?
Please, Mataji.
Yes, Saraya. Happy to see you after a long break.
Oh, I have come in between, but been not in and out,
Yeah.
Thanks. So nice to see you all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so Krishna book chapter 3 is titled The Birth of Lord Krishna. Let's read.
In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that his appearance, birth, and activity are all transcendental, and that one who understands them factually becomes immediately eligible to be transferred to the spiritual world. The Lord's appearance or birth is not like that of an ordinary man who is forced to accept a material body according to his past deeds. The Lord's appearance is explained in the second chapter. He appears out of his own sweet pleasure. When the time was mature for the appearance of the Lord, the constellations became very auspicious. The astrological influence of the star known as Rohini was predominant. This star is considered to be very auspicious and is under the direct supervision of Brahma. According to the astrological conclusion, besides the proper situation of the stars, there are auspicious and inauspicious moments due to the different situations of the different planetary systems. At the time of Krishna's birth, the planetary systems were automatically adjusted so that everything became auspicious.
So the Lord says that his appearance, birth, and activities are all transcendental in the Bhagavad Gita. So which verse is that? Who remembers from our Gita classes? Janma karma chame divyam, Krishna says. Janma karma chame divyam. So his appearance, birth, activities are all transcendental. They are all divyam. They are not on the materialistic platform. So that's the reason why whenever Krishna appears, even though he is in the material world, it doesn't mean that his body is material. He is still completely spiritual. And his appearance or birth is not like an ordinary man. See, we are forced to accept a particular material body according to what we did in the previous lifetime. But Krishna is not like that. I mean, nobody can force Krishna to appear in a certain place in a certain time and tell him that, okay, now you have to come here. There is nothing that Krishna has to do. There is nothing that God has to do. He is completely independent. He is completely Swarat. But he comes out of his own pleasure, because he comes because he wants to come. Although Krishna does follow a particular pattern to appear, isn't it? We know that Krishna appears at the end of Dwapar Yuga in the 28th Divya Yuga. Now, what is this Divya Yuga? Let us try to understand. So here you can see on the screen the 4 yugas: Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali Yuga. The duration of Kali Yuga is 432,000 years, or 432,000 years, out of which we have crossed only 5,000 years. Now, double of Kali Yuga is the duration of Dwapar Yuga. The 3 times Kali Yuga is the duration of Treta Yuga, and 4 times Kali Yuga is the duration of Satya Yuga. Now, all these 4 yugas put together make one Divya Yuga. So that comes to 4,320,000 years. Now, Brahma lives for 2,000 such, Brahma's one day is 1,000 Divya Yugas, that is a 12-hour period, and his one night is another 1,000 Divya Yugas, the other 12-hour period. So like that, in one 24-hour period of Lord Brahma, there are 2,000 Divya Yugas. Now, how long does Lord Brahma live? Lord Brahma lives for this this entire 2,000 into 4,320,000 years multiplied by, because that's one day. So that is multiplied by 30, because there are 30 days in a month, multiplied by 12 months in a year, and he lives for 100 such years. So Brahma's lifespan is 100 of his years. But for us, earthly calculation, it comes to 311 trillion and 40 billion years. Now, in this lifespan of Brahma, there are 14 Manus. Manu is the first man. The word man or Manushya comes from his name, Manu. So in one day of Lord Brahma, there are 14 Manus. So if you take the average, each Manu lives for 71 Divya Yugas. Now, when does Krishna appear? Krishna appears at the end of Dwapar Yuga of the 28th Divya Yuga. So he does follow a certain pattern when he descends. But that doesn't mean that he has to follow that pattern. What the point we're trying to make here is he's completely independent. He appeared because he wants to appear. And immediately after Krishna appears, so Krishna appears at the end of Dwapara Yuga, then that is followed by the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appears in Kali Yuga. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, but he comes in the mood of a devotee. He's in the mood of Srimati Radharani. Lord Chaitanya is the combined form of Radha and Krishna together. And Lord Chaitanya's mood is even more merciful than that of Krishna. So Krishna appears, and then Lord Chaitanya appears in the Kali Yuga following Krishna. So this is only in the 28th Divya Yuga. You can imagine. So we are actually, we have not missed Lord Chaitanya by that long, if you go to see, because he was walking on this planet only some 500 years ago. So we are very fortunate that we are in the same cycle in which Krishna and Lord Chaitanya have appeared on this planet. So that's the reason why we still have the teachings of Lord Chaitanya and we have access to the teachings of Lord Krishna, because they are not someone who came in this very, very distant past. If you go to see from this angle of vision, we miss them by not much. Okay.
Mataji, I have one question. In that case, will people in Treta Yuga, Satya Yuga, and other Yuga, they will not be Treta and Dwapar Yuga? Of course, Lord Krishna came, but Satya Yuga and Treta Yuga, not many people will know about Lord Krishna except the saints and the those masters. They will know more about Lord Krishna only in Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga, because his leelas were more in Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga.
No, actually in Satya Yuga, everybody is a Paramahamsa. Everybody is a self-realized soul. Everybody is a transcendentalist, because religiosity was 100% in Satya Yuga. So they are all fully realized. It's not that they are not aware of anything. They are fully aware of transcendental knowledge. Treta Yuga, it reduces to 75%. The religiosity reduces to 75%. So they definitely knew more than what we currently know. Because remember, Krishna appears at this point, but before that he is existing in his planet. And they are realized in transcendental knowledge. It's not that only after Krishna personally appears will they have this knowledge. Okay.
But if we believe in reincarnation, then people are born who could not realize, who were the 25% who did not realize. So they are the one who are born in Kali Yuga and
yeah, not necessarily everybody who's walking on the planet has taken birth because he's not a self-realized soul. There are many who come because they are given a particular service. Although they deserve to remain in the spiritual world, they are given a particular service and they are here to preach and to deliver the fallen conditioned souls. So there are people who are walking on this planet who are here because they are here on a mission, or because they have been sent by the Lord to preach. Not necessarily because they are paying off a past karma.
So this is no choice as such. Like, it's not that they chose to come, those masters, to come and teach, but they are given the instruction that, okay, you go and be the master, be a guru.
They are given the instruction and they also accept the instruction very willingly, because for a pure devotee, it doesn't matter whether he's in the material world or he's in the spiritual world. All that, see, the purest of the pure devotee, what does he want? He just wants to serve the Lord. So what does it matter whether he's serving the Lord in the material world or he's serving the Lord in the spiritual world? As long as he's serving the Lord, he's happy. He can be in the material world, but his consciousness is so elevated that he's in the spiritual world. in terms of his conscience.
Mhm.
So they are very happy to follow the instructions.
There is any, I mean, those are the bona fide gurus. That's what you're telling about. Remember, always we taught in Bhagavad
Yes.
Gita also, the
Yes.
bona fide gurus. Those are the one who are working under the instructions. They are sent on the assignment. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, a pure devotee. Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
See, there are different grades of devotees. Um, I mean, we cannot put everybody under the same category, but yeah, when you talk about pure devotee or the purest of the pure devotees, they are here because that's the instruction they have received from the Lord. Or they themselves desire to come and preach, and the Lord just fulfills their desire.
So having that desire is okay, that you want to serve and you want
Yes,
to be the guru.
it's a fantastic desire. It's the desire of a pure devotee. Yes. You can always have spiritual desires.
Mhm. Okay, thanks.
Okay. So another point here is how when the Lord appeared, the constellations became very auspicious. So that time the star known as Rohini was predominant. So Krishna is Rohini Nakshatra. It's a very, very auspicious sign. And see the point here, at the time of Krishna's birth, the planetary systems were automatically adjusted so that everyone becomes auspicious. So the planetary systems, the planets have adjusted themselves so that everything at that time is auspicious. Say the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was an expert astronomer and an expert astrologer. And he was very, very expert in these fields. But he gave it up because what he said was one can make predictions, but all those predictions can be proven false once one takes to Krishna consciousness. Because when you bring Krishna in your life, then everything can be wiped off. See, I may have a certain burden of baggage of karma, but the more I surrender to Krishna, that much that baggage is reduced. So all those predictions are because, the prediction may say, okay, according to my time of birth, I have this karma and I may have to suffer so and such a thing in this lifetime. But because I surrender to Krishna, then I don't have to pay. Maybe, my destiny is that my leg should be cut. But because I surrender to Krishna, maybe I escape with just a scratch. So when we bring Krishna in our lives, then we are invoking all auspiciousness, and Krishna can change the rules of the game for his devotee. So what is the use of that astrology and astronomy? If one becomes a devotee, then everything can be, your past slate can be wiped clean. So therefore, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave it up. So when we bring Krishna in our lives, then we are invoking all auspiciousness. So even the planetary systems will be adjusted. Krishna will overwrite everything else for his devotee. So this is also very, very important lesson we see in this first paragraph.
Mataji, I want to share one thing regarding this. So I was watching an interview of Amog Leela Prabhu, and he said that he had like acidity and all that digestive problems earlier, but when he came to Krishna consciousness, he started taking prasad, and everything disappeared. And then when I think one of the astrologer came and he saw his hand, and he was like, according to your lines, it shows that you still have acidity, but then it shows on your chart, but then it just disappears when you start
Exactly. Yeah. See, exactly what we were saying. So it's a win-win situation. When we take to Krishna consciousness, there is nothing we can lose. We can only benefit and benefit greatly. Wonderful story. Thank you, Shreya.
Mataji, can I ask you one question?
Yes.
So, what we are talking about, does it start when one becomes a devotee or one gets initiated and has a guru in life?
See, when we start off chanting, we are beginning on the process, and the more we chant, the more we are burning our past karma. When we take initiation, a big chunk is wiped out. When we take initiation, only a small, tiny residue is left post initiation. Okay, but every time we chant, the more we chant, it's a process. It's not something that is going to happen in one day. It's a process. We begin, and then as we continue chanting, as we surrender more, that in that proportion we are burning our past karma.
Okay, so if like, let's just say like if something's like, you know, the stars and all that, and we have these grass, Shani Devta and this Devta and that Devta, वो आप पे भारी है या कुछ है, and you are, let's say you came to Krishna consciousness, you don't have a guru, and you're going on the path, you're trying to chant and all that. So if something is supposed to happen, like something bad, Lord Krishna will like decrease the effect of that, or it will still happen.
Yes, he will
That's
decrease
how
it
it
to the
happens.
extent to which we are surrendered. See, only we know, only our heart knows how much we have surrendered. No, only it's between us and Krishna. How much we are surrendered, how much we depend on Krishna, and how much we depend on astrology. Like if something goes wrong, how much we are thinking that, oh, Krishna will take care. And how much we are thinking that, okay, let me just go and check my astrological chart. Maybe there is something that can be done. You know, so what are we depending on? What is it that's going on in our mind? That we know that that's between us and Krishna. It's to the extent that we surrender. See, one may be chanting for 40 years, but probably that person has not surrendered at all. One may be chanting for just 1 week, and probably he's more surrendered than the guy who's chanting for 40 years.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I have another question after listening this all. But they are like, we see Ramakrishna Paramhans, he was such a great devotee of Ma Kali, and he suffered so much, he had cancer. Then there are many other, you know, great masters who have, you know, almost God realized they are. Some people are very poor, they are God realized, and they just, you know, they do the seva and all, but of course it doesn't matter to them. But when we read their character and we feel sorry, we feel sad that why they have to suffer so much. Like Sudama also, if you see Lord Krishna's friend, I know some of them like lots of, because Sudama's story is different, that he ate that chidwa when it was Guru Ma has given them to eat, Lord Krishna and him, but he didn't share and he ate and he spoke lies. So, okay, it came back to him. But how about Ramakrishna Paramahansa and all? Why they have to go through all this pain and suffering?
Okay, so in the Bhagavatam, we have the story of Prahlad, who went through trials and tribulations, right? And my own spiritual master, he's on the wheelchair. He had a stroke in 2008 and he's on the wheelchair. So we have to understand, see, we should not equate suffering with material trials and tribulations. So externally for us, it looks like, it appears like they are suffering, but because they are so elevated, they don't suffer. It's not that they are suffering. They are happy. They are they are transcendently situated. So for us, it may appear that, oh, Prahlad is suffering, or my spiritual master, he's on the wheelchair and he's not able to walk so many years. But because they are transcendently situated, they are happy. They are not suffering. So we should not equate suffering with material positions, material situation. And a person may be very, very rich and very opulent, beautiful, famous, but he may be still suffering because he is not happy. There is no connection with the Lord. So these are two different things.
Oh, okay. So that is the reason. Okay. But we are not judging, but as a common person, then when we see this kind of, then we feel
yeah, so how to
disturbed
understand
mentally.
this? How to understand this? Because even see, the Pandavas, they were personal associates of Krishna. Even they went through so many trials and tribulations, isn't it? So how to understand this is the Lord teaches us through his devotees. So when he gives out lessons, so he's explaining, like when Arjuna went through that harrowing situation where he had to kill his own spiritual, I mean his guru, his relatives, his grandfather. It's such a harrowing experience, isn't it? So what is Krishna trying to teach us? That if a great warrior like Arjuna, he's the greatest archer, and even he was in such a hopeless situation, then what are we? And if Arjuna had to surrender to Krishna, then definitely we have to surrender to Krishna. So what happens is Krishna, through great personalities, teaches us a lesson, and he uses them as examples for us to understand better. Because if he just says, you have to surrender, but when he shows us a situation in this warlike situation, a great personality like Arjuna, who had no equal in the world, and even he was in a hopeless situation, then we understand it better. So how do we understand this? Is by understanding that he uses great personalities as examples.
That makes sense. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, let's continue.
At that time, in all directions, east, west, south, north, everywhere, there was an atmosphere of peace and prosperity. There were auspicious stars visible in the sky and on the surface of the earth, in all towns and villages and pasturing grounds, and within the minds of everyone. They were signs of good fortune. The rivers were flowing full of waters, and lakes were beautifully decorated with lotus flowers. The forests were full with beautiful birds and peacocks. All the birds within the forest began to sing with sweet voices, and the peacocks began to dance along with their consorts. The wind blew very pleasantly, carrying the aroma of different flowers, and the sensation of bodily touch was very pleasing. At home, the Brahmanas, who were accustomed to offering sacrifices in the fire, found their homes very pleasant for offerings. Due to disturbances created by the demonic kings, the sacrificial fire had been almost stopped in the houses of Brahmanas, but now they could find the opportunity to start the fire peacefully. Being forbidden to other sacrifices, the Brahmanas had been very much distressed in mind, intelligence, and activities. But just on the point of Krishna appearance, automatically their minds became full of joy because they could hear transcendental vibrations in the sky proclaiming the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So we see how everything is auspicious. Krishna's appearance brings about even seasonal changes. Srimad Bhagavatam describes how when Krishna appeared, it was not springtime, it was a month of September, yet everything appeared like it was springtime. The lotuses and the lilies were blossoming during the day. They even blossomed at night. See, Krishna appeared at 12 midnight, and even though normally they blossom during the day, when Krishna appeared at 12 midnight, they were blossoming they were in full bloom. And the wind was blowing at that time, and the wind carried the fragrance of these fully bloomed flowers. So it was like springtime at that time, the best time of the year, isn't it? So again, we see that how Krishna is a game changer. He can change the rules of the game. Next. Are you there, Baraya? We cannot hear you. You're on mute. Baraya, you're on mute.
Sorry, I wasn't sure whether you want me to read, so I have been little coughing, so I don't want to disturb, that's why. The denizens of the Gandharva and Kinnara planets begin to sing, and the denizens of Siddhaloka and the planets of the Karnaras begin to offer prayers in the service of the personality of Godhead. In the heavenly planets, the angels and their wives, along with the Vedharsa and their wives, begin to dance. Vidhyarasa, okay. The great sages and the demigods, being pleased, begin to shower flowers. At the seashore, there was sound of mild waves, and above the sea, there were clouds in the sky, which began to thunder very pleasingly.
So even the denizens or inhabitants of the other planetary systems, they are singing and glorifying the Lord. So Kinnar Loka or Kinnar planet, the residents of this Kinnar planet, their bodily features are that of a human being, but they have wings. So Garuda is also an inhabitant of the Kinnar Loka. And inhabitants of Kinnar Loka, they are expert in singing the glories of the Lord. Who are the Gandharvas? The Gandharvas are, again, they are also singers. They are celestial singers or singers of the heavenly planets. The Vidyadharas also are wonderful singers like the Gandharvas. And Charanas are also celestial residents. They are similar to the Siddhas. So you can see all these other residents of the other planetary systems, they are also dancing and they are also joyful on the appearance of Krishna. Next.
Is Kinnara Mataji is angels planet, like would they have wings?
Kinnars,
Is this
yeah,
all?
like Garuda. No, they are like they have the body of a human being, but they have wings and they sing the glories of the Lord. So that's why when Garuda also flaps his wings, one of the Vedas, the sounds of the Vedas comes when he flaps his wings. That sound is generated.
Because I'm just trying to think English also. In English, they have read in some book, it say the angel planet, so the one who have wings. So I thought maybe it's in Hindi or Sanskrit is Kinnara. Okay.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know the English equivalent of that. Okay, next.
When things were adjusted like this, Lord Vishnu, who is residing within the heart of every living entity, appeared in the darkness of night as the Supreme Personality of Godhead before Devaki, who appeared as one of the demi-goddesses. The appearance of Lord Vishnu at that time could be compared to the rising of the full moon over the eastern horizon. The objection may be raised that since Lord Krishna appeared on the 8th day of the waning moon, there could be no rising of the full moon. In answer to this, it may be said that Lord Krishna appeared in the dynasty which is in the hierarchy of the moon. Therefore, although the moon was incomplete on that night because of the Lord's appearance in the dynasty, wherein the moon is himself the original person, the moon was in an overjoyous condition. So by the grace of Krishna, he could appear just like a full moon. In an astronomical treatise by the name of Kamyanikya, the constellations at the time of the appearance of the Lord Krishna are very nicely described. It is confirmed that the child born at that auspicious moment was the Supreme Brahman or the absolute truth.
So Krishna appeared on Ashtami, the 8th day of the waning moon. See, we have this moon cycle from Amavasya to full moon is called as Shukla Paksha or the waxing moon. And from full moon to no moon to Amavasya, from Purnima to Amavasya is called as the waning moon or Krishna Paksha. So Krishna has appeared during the period of the waning moon on the 8th day. See, this cycle of Shukla Paksha is for 15 days and Krishna Paksha is another 15 days. So that makes 30 days in a month. So Krishna has appeared on the 8th day of the waning moon, but still the moon appeared like it was a full moon because the moon also is a person. And he is feeling very, very happy and joyful at the appearance of Krishna. Next.
Vasudeva saw that wonderful child born as a baby with 4 hands holding couch, shell, club, disc, and lotus flower, decorated with the mark of Srivastas, wearing the jeweled necklace of Kastubha stone, dressed in yellow silk, appearing dazzling like a bright blackish cloud, wearing a helmet bedecked with the Vidura stone, valuable bracelets, earrings, and similar other ornaments all over his body, and beautified by an abundance of hair on his head. Due to the extraordinary features of the child, Vasudeva was struck with wonder. How could a newly born child be so decorated? He could therefore understand that Lord Krishna had now appeared and he became overpowered by the occasion. Vasudeva very humbly wondered that although he was an ordinary living entity conditioned by material nature and was externally imprisoned by Kamsa, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, Vishnu or Krishna, had appeared as a child in his home, exactly in his original position. No earthly child is born with 4 hands, decorated with ornaments and nice clothing, fully equipped with all the signs of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Over and over again, Vasudeva glanced at his child, and he considered how to celebrate this auspicious moment. Generally, when a male child is born, he thought, people observe the occasion with jubilant celebrations, and in my home, although I am imprisoned, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has taken birth. How many millions and millions of times should I be prepared to observe this auspicious ceremony?
So when Krishna appeared, he didn't appear like an ordinary child. He has come in the full Vishnu form with 4 hands. And what does he hold in the 4 hands? Conch, club, disc, and lotus flower. He is decorated with the mark of Srivatsa. Srivatsa is a curl of hair on his chest. And he has the Kaustubha stone, and he's dressed in yellow silk. So we even know the color of his clothes. So you'll see Krishna in his pictures. He's dressed in a yellow dhoti. No, so we know the color of the clothes, and he's come exactly in his Vishnu form. So we know that Krishna is not an ordinary child. And Vasudev, as soon as he sees this, he realizes that yes, this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. See, Krishna, he has 2 features. One is opulence and the other is his sweetness. Now, when Krishna is in Vrindavan, it is Krishna's sweetness that completely overpowers his opulence. Now, although Yashoda sees the universal form in Krishna's mouth, although residents of Vrindavan, the Gopas and the Gopis, and even Yashoda, they all see that Krishna is killing all these dangerous demons one after the other, still they share a very spontaneous, loving, intimate relationship with Krishna. For them, Krishna's sweetness completely overshadows his opulence. That happens with only the purest of his pure devotees. Now, out of Vrindavan, his opulence is more prominent. So whether Krishna is in Dwaraka or in Mathura, there his opulence is more prominent than his sweetness. But in Vrindavan, it is his sweetness that completely overshadows his opulence. So we can see here Vasudev, he is struck with wonder by seeing all this opulence of Krishna. And he's fully aware that Krishna is a Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what happens is when one is aware, then there is that much less intimacy in the relationship. There is, the Bhagavatam also describes that actually when Krishna, immediately after Krishna is born, he's taken away, isn't it? And he's reunited with his parents when he comes back as a 11 or 12-year-old and he kills Kamsa. At that time when Krishna was reunited with Devaki and Vasudev, they do not embrace each other because they are aware that this is God. So, but for Yashoda, he is just her son. He is her Kanha, no? So she is praying to Lord Vishnu for the protection of Krishna. But because there it's just the sweetness of Krishna that completely overshadows his opulence. So here we are seeing how the opulence is more prominent here in the jail of Kamsa. Okay, let's go to the next.
Shila Vaswanta
Vishwanath
Chakravarti.
Chakravarti.
Vishala. Okay. Vishala Chakravarti Thakura has analyzed the wonders of Vasudeva upon seeing his extraordinary child. Vasudeva was shivering with wonder to see a newborn child decorated so nicely with valuable garments and gems. He could immediately understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead had appeared not as an ordinary child, but in his original, fully decorated, 4-handed form. The first wonder was that the Lord was not afraid to appear within the prison house of Kamsa, where Vasudeva and Devaki were interned. Second, although the Lord, the Supreme Transcendence in all pervading, he had appeared from the womb of Devaki. The third point of wonder, therefore, was that a child could take birth from the womb so nicely decorated. Fourth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was Vasudeva, worshipable deity, yet had taken birth as his son. For all these reasons, Vasudeva was transcendentally jubilant, and he wanted to perform a festival.
So these are the reasons why Vasudeva was so wonderstruck, as explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He's an acharya in our disciplic succession, and Srila Prabhupada quotes him very often in his purports. So he gives 4 reasons why Vasudeva was so wonderstruck. Okay, next.
You are on mute, Maria.
I'm sorry, keep coughing in between. So that's why I just, okay, when Vasudeva, who is also called Anaka Dundhabi, was looking at his newborn baby, he was happy that he wanted to give many thousands of cows in charity to the Brahmanas. According to the Vedic system, whenever there is an auspicious ceremony in the Kshatriya's king palace, out of joy, the king gives many things in charity. Cows decorated with golden ornaments are delivered to the Brahmanas and sages. Vasudeva wanted to perform a charitable ceremony to celebrate Krishna's appearance, but because he was shackled within the walls of Kamsa's prison, this was not possible. Instead, with his mind, he gave thousands of cows to the Brahmanas. When Vasudeva was convinced that the newborn child was the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, he bowed down with folded hands and began to offer him prayers. At that time, Vasudeva was in the transcendental position, and he became completely free from all fear of Kamsa. The newborn baby was also flashing his effulgence within the room in which he appeared. Vasudeva then began to offer his prayers. My dear Lord, I can understand who you are. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul of all living entities, and the Absolute Truth. You have appeared in your own eternal form, which is directly perceived by us. I understand that because I am afraid of Kamsa, you have appeared just to deliver me from that fear. You do not belong to this material world. You are the same person who brings about the cosmic manifestation simply by glancing over material nature.
What name of Vasudeva do we learn here?
Ananka Dundhabi.
Yes, Anaka Dundubi. That is another name of Vasudeva, because when Vasudeva appeared, that time the demigods knew that he is going to be the father of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they had played drums and kettle drums. So therefore he is called as Anaka Dundubi. Okay. So what has he done now? He would, if he's in a normal situation, he would make this elaborate donation, but because now he's in a prison house and he's feeling joyful, he wants to give things in charity, he is doing it on a mental level. So when we do manasa puja, or when we do something mentally also, we get the benefit. But that doesn't mean that we become lazy and we do things mentally, because out of laziness we don't want to do it, because Krishna knows what is our intention. If we are in a position that we cannot actually physically do something, but we have the desire to do it, then if we do it mentally also, we get the benefit. Just as how we have the story of a poor Brahman who had this desire to make an elaborate preparation for the Lord. But he was very poor. He didn't have the finances to go and purchase things and cook an elaborate meal for the Lord. So he mentally prepared everything. So he mentally went and bought the grocery, cooked it, washed it, cut it, prepared everything. And he was making the offering, everything in his mind. And he wanted to check the temperature of one of the preparations, because we don't offer something very, very hot to the Lord. No, it should be eatable. So he checked the temperature, he put his finger in that. And in his mind, mentally, he has put his finger in his preparation to check the temperature. But then he realized that his finger actually got burned. So the Lord actually accepted his service immediately. So even mental, so that's the benefit we get, that when we do mental manasa puja, also we get the benefit. Okay, so now Vasudeva, he begins to offer prayers to the Lord, and he's fully aware that he is the same personality who brings about creation just by glancing over material nature. Who exactly glances over material nature? Who remembers?
Is it Mahavishnu?
Yes, Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu glances at, yes,
Material nature.
yes, material nature. But okay, so we have Pradhana and we have Mahatattva. Who remembers these terms? Pradhana is the material world in the inactive state. When Mahavishnu glances over Pradhana, and his glance, through his glance, he is transferring time, the living entities, and the karma of the living entities. When he glances over material nature and he transfers these objects, then the material nature now is in its activated state, and now it becomes the Mahatattva. Just as how we may have a cell phone chip, it's in the inactive state, but we have to activate the chip in order to be able to start making and receiving calls, isn't it? So like that, the material nature in the inactive state is called Pradhana, and it is activated by the glance of Mahavishnu, and now it is called as the Mahatattva. So Vasudeva is fully aware that this is the same personality who is there in that prison house, who has come as his son. Next.
One may argue that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who creates the whole cosmic manifestation, simply by his glance, cannot come within the womb of Devaki, the wife of Vasudeva. To eradicate this argument, Vasudeva said, "My dear Lord, it is not a very wonderful thing that you have appeared within the womb of Devaki, because the creation was also made in that way. You were lying in the casual ocean as Mahavishnu, and by your breathing process, innumerable universes came into existence. Then you entered into each of the universes as Garbhodaka Saya Vishnu. Then again, you expanded yourself as Krishodhaka Sai Vishnu and entered into the hearts of all living entities and even to the atoms. Therefore, your entrance into the womb of Devaki is understandable in the same way. You appear to have entered, but you are simultaneously all-pervading. We can understand your entrance and non-entrance from material examples. The total material energy remains intact even after being divided into 16 elements. The material body is nothing but the combination of the 5 gross elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Whenever there is a material body, it appears that such elements are newly created, but actually the elements are always existing outside of the body. Similarly, although you have appeared as a child in the womb of Devaki, you are also existing outside. You are always in your abode, but still you can simultaneously expand yourself into millions of forms.
Okay, so here we read about the 3 Vishnus. So Krishna's first expansion in the material world is Mahavishnu or Karanodakashai Vishnu. What is he doing? He is breathing, and by his breathing, he is creating universes. From every time he breathes out, from every pore of his skin, an entire universe is generated. Then Mahavishnu expands and enters into each universe as Garbhodakashai Vishnu. So this is one universe. Okay, millions of universes are created by Mahavishnu's breathing, and inside each universe there is now one Garbhodakashai Vishnu. So every universe has its Garbhodakashai Vishnu. And Garbhodakashai Vishnu, from his navel, a lotus appears. And which personality is there on top of that lotus?
Brahma.
Lord Brahma. And in that lotus stem are the 14 planetary systems, of which we are in the middle, in the earthly planetary system, isn't it? Now what happens? Garbhodakashai Vishnu expands as Kshirodakashai Vishnu, or the Paramatma, and he enters into the heart of every living entity, right from the tiny ant up to Lord Brahma. So we have these 3 Vishnus here. And Vasudeva is talking about how Mahavishnu is bringing universes into existence by his breathing, and then he enters into each universe as Garbhodakashai Vishnu, and then again he enters into the heart of all the living entities as the Kshirodakashai Vishnu. Yeah, Krishna Kumar, you have a question?
Yeah, Mataji, was Vasudev one of the Mahajans?
12 Mahajans? No, he's not one of the 12 Mahajans.
Okay, but he how does he know all these things? Because all this came was communicated in that yoga during our Gita, during the Gita Upadesh to Arjuna. No? But how come he is explaining all these things?
Yeah, so we have to understand that Krishna re-spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, but Krishna has given this knowledge before he gave it to Arjuna to the sun god, and it has come down through disciplic succession.
Okay.
Okay.
And Mataji, so in every universe, remember you explained about the milk ocean and the ghee ocean and butter ocean. So every universe has that Mount Meru and all the oceans as well?
Yeah, so the Bhagavatam describes our universe in detail. It does not say whether it's the same for all the universes. It may or may not necessarily be. But what Vyasdeva describes in the Bhagavatam is our universe.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. In the Bhagavad Gita, we learned how the total material energy has actually 24 elements. No, there are 24 elements of material nature, but first 16 elements were introduced. So that's why here it says that the total material energy remains intact even after being divided into 16 elements. We'll see this in detail as we in these slides. See here, 24 material elements are there. But primarily, the Mahatattva is divided into 16 parts. So what are these 16 elements that were initially introduced? Are the 5 gross material elements, that's earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and the 11 working instruments or senses. Let's read this text.
SP 8, 1630 purport. Katra Vimasad Guna, the 24 elements are the 5 gross elements, earth, water, fire, and ether. The 3 subtle elements, mind, intelligence, and false ego. The 10 senses, 5 for working and 5 for acquiring. Is it, I think I can, yeah, acquiring knowledge. The 5 sense objects and the contaminated consciousness. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:3:1. Primarily, this Mahat Tattva is divided into 16 parts, namely the 5 gross material elements and the 11 working instruments of or senses. Srila Prabhupada lectures on Srimad Bhagavat 1:3:1, Vrindavana, November 14, 1972. So Mahat Tattva, the total material energy and 6-5 elements, 16, Sodashak, Kalam. What are those? The 5 elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, and sense objects, and senses and the spirit soul. In this way, 16, and from 16 it expands to 24. That is the explanation of our Vedic creation, Sodasha Kalam.
Okay, so the 16 elements that were initially introduced by the 5 gross elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, the 5 senses, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch, and the 5 objects of the senses, form, sound, smell, taste, and touch. The other elements were introduced later. But anyway, these are technical details. It's not so important. So don't worry about that. Next.
One has to understand your appearance with great intelligence because the material energy is also emanating from you. You are the original source of the material energy. Just as the sun is the source of the sunshine, the sunshine cannot cover the sun glow, nor can the material energy. Being an emanation from you, cover you. You appear to be in the 3 modes of material energy, but actually the 3 modes of material energy cannot cover you. This is understood by the highly intellectual philosophers. In other words, although you appear to be within the material energy, you are never covered by it. We hear from the Vedic version that the Supreme Brahman exhibits his effulgence and therefore everything becomes illuminated. We can understand from the Brahma Samhita that the Brahma Jyotir or the Brahman effulgence emanates from the body of the Supreme Lord, and from the Brahman effulgence all creation take place. It is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita that the Lord is the support of the Brahman effulgence. Therefore, originally he is the root cause of everything. But persons who are less intelligent think that when the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes within this material world, he accepts the material qualities. Such conclusions are not very mature, but are made by the less intelligent.
So again, the same point, when the Lord appears, there is nothing material about the Lord. Still, he is completely spiritual. And what is the Brahma Jyoti? The Brahma Jyoti is the light that is emanating from Krishna's body. We know that there are three aspects of the absolute truth. The Brahman effulgence, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Brahman effulgence is to realize God in only the Brahman feature, which is the light emanating from him. Paramatma is to realize the Paramatma, the super soul residing in the heart of every living entity. And Bhagavan feature realization is when we realize God as a person, as a living entity, as a person like you and me. Only thing is that he is the supreme person. He is Purushottama. So there are three aspects of the absolute truth. So just as how the sunshine, the source of the sunshine is the sun itself. In the same way, the source of the Brahman effulgence is Krishna himself. Now, when we see the sunshine, we know that the sun is present. So when we learn about the Brahman effulgence, we should understand that this Brahman effulgence also has a source, and that source is Krishna, the person. To only believe in Brahman effulgence and say that the effulgence exists, but I do not believe that God is a person, it's as absurd, it's as incorrect as saying that, yes, I believe in the sunshine, but the sunshine is not coming from the sun. It's only logical that the sunshine is coming from the sun. So the Brahman effulgence is coming from a person, and that person is Krishna. We know that from the Brahma Samhita. Who is the author of the Brahma Samhita?
Is it Lord Brahma?
Lord Brahma, yes. Lord Brahma spoke the Brahma Samhita, and then he gives a lot of information. And Lord Brahma, remember, he is the most intelligent living entity of the universe. He's the first created being, and he is the most intelligent. And he also accepts Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He says that Krishna is the source of the Brahman effulgence. Let's continue.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead is directly and indirectly existing everywhere. He's outside this material creation, and he is also within it. He is within this material creation not only as Garbhodaka, Saya Vishnu, he is also within the atom. The existence of the atom is due to his presence. Nothing can be separated from his existence. In the Vedic injunctions, we find that the Supreme Soul, or the root cause of everything, has to be searched out, because nothing exists independently of the Supreme Soul. Therefore, the material manifestation is also a transformation of his potency. Both inert matter and the living force, the soul, are emanations from him. Only the foolish conclude that when the Supreme Lord appears, he accepts the conditions of matter. Even if he appears to have accepted a material body, he is still not subjected to any material condition. Krishna has therefore appeared and defeated all imperfect conclusions about the appearance and the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, so Krishna is directly and indirectly existing everywhere. Nothing can exist independently from Krishna. See, just as how we are here because we have a father. Our father is existing because he has a father. He is existing because he has a father. He has a father. He has, like that. It goes on, goes on, goes on, and the buck stops at Krishna. So nothing can exist independently from the Lord. Even if we try to enjoy independently from the Lord, even if we try to enjoy without keeping Krishna in our life, we will never be able to actually enjoy. We think that we are enjoying because that's how Maya plays with our mind. But at the end of the day, we are only suffering. So we cannot enjoy independently from Krishna. If we put Krishna in the center, just as how if there is still water and we throw one stone in the water, what happens? There are ripples that are created. No, there are concentric circles that are created in the water. And these concentric circles, you will see, will never clash with each other. They so perfectly form circles around that middle, around that stone where it was thrown in the water, that they will never clash with each other. So when we put Krishna in the center of our lives, everything else is taken care of without any clashes, without any hindrances. Everything else is taken care of. Family, job, career, children, whatever it may be, everything is automatically taken care of. But if we are going to throw several stones in the water, then there are going to be so many concentric circles that are going to be clashing with each other. So we cannot prioritize everything equally. We should know how to prioritize what. If we want to put our careers in the center of our lives, also our family, also God, then there is going to be clashes. If we have Krishna in the center, then everything else is automatically by default, everything is taken care of. Remember, Krishna is a game changer. Next.
My Lord, your appearance, existence, and disappearance are beyond the influence of the material qualities. Because your Lordship is the Supreme Brahman and the controller of everything, there is nothing inconceivable or contradictory in you. As you have said, material nature works under your superintendence, just like a government officer working under the orders of the chief executive. The influence of the subordinate activities cannot affect you. Since you are the Supreme Brahman, everything is existing within you. And since all the activities of the material nature are controlled by your Lordship, none of these activities affect you. You are called Sukhalam, or whiteness is the symbolic representation of the absolute truth. Because it is unaffected by the material qualities, Lord Brahma is called Rakta or red, because Brahma represents the quality of passion for creation. Darkness is entrusted to Lord Shiva because he inhalates the cosmos. The creation, inhalation, and the maintenance of these cosmic manifestations are conducted by your potencies, yet you are always unaffected by those qualities. As confirmed in the Vedas, Hare Hi Nirguna Sakta Sakat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always free from all material qualities. It is also said that the qualities of passion and ignorance are non-existent in the person of the Supreme Lord.
Okay, so material nature is working under the superintendence of Krishna. Just as how there is a president in a country and there are other subordinates, his ministers, who are working under the president, in the same way, the Lord is existing as a supreme personality, and under his superintendence, everybody else is working. Okay, so Lord Brahma, he's in charge of the mode of passion, and therefore he is in charge of secondary creation. He's the secondary creator, not the primary creator, because primary creation takes place with Mahavishnu's breathing, isn't it? So Brahma is the secondary creator. He is the created creator. So Lord Shiva, he is in charge of the mode of ignorance, and therefore he annihilates or he destroys the cosmos. And maintenance is taken care of by Lord Vishnu. So therefore we have these three colors: red, white, and black. See this word here, nirguna. So the Lord is nirgun. That means, that doesn't mean that he has no gun. It doesn't mean that he has no qualities. It means that he has no material qualities, but he does have spiritual qualities. When we say the Lord is Nirgun, Nirakar means he doesn't have a material form, but he does have a spiritual form. This is how we have to understand these words, Nirgun and Nirakar. He has no material qualities and no material form, but he does have spiritual qualities and spiritual form. See here in this verse of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Maya Dyakshena Prakriti. So he's saying this material nature is working under my direction. Krishna himself says this in the Bhagavad Gita. And this is what is being mentioned here. That so he says, no, his father is saying, Vasudeva is saying that as you have said, material nature works under your superintendence. So this is the line. Krishna says, Maya Dyakshena Prakriti. Prakriti, this material nature is working under my direction. Yeah, Bareya, you have a question?
Yes, Mataji. You said that Nirakar, that is formless, has no form, but it has some spiritual form. So what does that spiritual form means?
Spiritual form is Krishna. He has 2 hands, 2 legs, eyes, ears, nose, lotus feet, lotus lips. The form is there. And
So
that
that
is spiritual
is
form.
so that's a spiritual form.
Yes.
But that is Akar again, isn't it? Akar.
Yes. Yes, it is Akar. Yes. So Nirakar doesn't mean that he has no Akar. It means he has no material Akar. It means that the body is not material. It is not made of earth, water, fire, air, and ether like our body. His body is completely Satchit Ananda, spiritual. That's what it means.
So how do you feel that Nirakar? Like a lot of people do meditate on that, right? The Nirakar, the great yogis and also that form means they do not see Lord Krishna in the spiritual form. Is that correct? Then it becomes Nirakar?
Yes. So they believe in only the Brahman effulgence. That's what we discussed, no? The Brahman effulgence is one aspect of the absolute truth, but a higher understanding, a more complete understanding is the Paramatma, and the complete understanding is the Bhagavan feature of the Lord, where you realize that God is a person. So if a yogi is only meditating on the Brahman effulgence, on the Brahma Jyoti, then he will attain only the Brahma Jyoti at the time of liberation. He will not be able to attain Vaikuntha and Goloka.
It's very deep.
Yes.
It is very deep, yeah.
Yes, because I've heard like many people who meditate, they see a light whenever they are meditating. So I was listening to one of the Gaurang Das lectures, and he said that many meditators see that light, but that's just a start, and that's the Brahman effulgence they see. So that's just the first stage, and they have to advance to Bhagavan feature.
Exactly. Yes. If they advance to the next level, then they can realize the Paramatma and they can realize the Bhagavan. But if they are going to be stuck at only that the first level, then they are going to attain the Brahman effulgence. So what's the problem in attaining the Brahman effulgence? You have to come back again. Krishna says that, no? In the Bhagavad Gita, we saw that because it's the nature of the soul to be active. In the Brahman effulgence, one is just existing in the light, but there is no interaction, there is no intimacy, and there is no service that one can do to the Lord. So therefore the soul invariably, he gets bored and he falls down again. Then again he proceeds to the next stage. But what is intelligence? Don't waste any more lifetimes. Take to devotional service, go back to Vaikuntha Goloka in this lifetime. That is intelligence. Okay, let's continue.
My Lord, you are the supreme controller, the personality of Godhead, the supreme great, maintaining the order of this cosmic manifestation. Yet in spite of your being the supreme controller, you have so kindly appeared in my home. The purpose of your appearance is to kill the followers of the demonic rulers of the world who are in the dress of royal prince, but are actually demons. I am sure that you will kill all of them and their followers and the soldiers. I understand that you have appeared in order to kill the uncivilized Kamsa and his followers, but knowing that you were to appear in order to kill him and his followers, he has already killed so many of your predecessors, your elder brothers. Now he is simply awaiting the news of your birth. As soon as he hears about it, he will immediately appear with all kinds of weapons to kill you.
So who is saying all these things to Krishna?
Vasudev, the
Vasudev,
father.
yes, his father. Yes, very nice. Next.
After this prayer of Vasudeva, Devaki, the mother of Krishna, offered her prayers. She was very frightened because of her brother's atrocities. Devaki said, "My dear Lord, your eternal forms like Narayana, Lord Rama, Hashira, Varsha, Nirmaha, Vamana, Baldeva, and millions of similar incarnations emanating from Vishnu are described in the Vedic literature as original. You are original because all your forms as incarnations are outside of this material creation. Your form was existing before this cosmic manifestation was created. Your forms are eternal and all-pervading. They are also self-effulgent, changeless, and uncontaminated by the material qualities. Such eternal forms are ever cognizant and full of bliss. They are situated in transcendental goodness and are always engaged in different pastimes. You are not limited to a particular form only. All such transcendental eternal forms are self-sufficient. I can understand that you are the Supreme Lord Vishnu.
So after Vasudeva offers prayers, now Devaki, the mother of Krishna, she begins to offer her prayers. And she's talking about all these eternal forms of the Lord. So Narayan, Lord Ramachandra, Hayashirsha, Varaha, Nrsimha, Vamana, Baladev, they're all eternal forms. So they may not be existing on the planet right now, but that doesn't mean they are not existing anywhere. They are eternally existing, right? So Ramachandra also has his planet. Varaha, Nrsimha, Vamana, all these Narayan, all they are all residing in the Vaikuntha planets in their Vishnu forms, in the 400 Vishnu forms. So they are the Lord and his immediate expansions, these expansions, they are all existing eternally. So who is Hayashirsha?
Is it fish? That fish?
Not the fish.
Varaha, I know that is boar.
Hayashirsha is also called as Hayagriva. Now does it ring a bell? Hayagriva, who's Hayagriva?
Hayagriva.
Is it the tortoise incarnation?
Tortoise.
That's Kurma.
Oh yeah,
Kurma.
that's Kurma.
And the fish is Matsya.
Matsya.
So it's not there. Matsya is not mentioned here, right?
No, here it
Because
doesn't
he came-
mention. Yeah, it doesn't mention, but Matsya is also, Matsya in fact was the first of the 10 prominent avatars. But anyway, Hayagriva is the horse-faced incarnation of the Lord. And he had killed 2 Danavas, Madhu and Kaitava. There's very little given in the Bhagavatam about them, about Hayagriva actually. But the description given is that he kills these 2 Danavas, and they were born from the earwax of Mahavishnu. So it's a horse-faced incarnation. Let's see. I think I have, we have a picture here. Here he is. So his complexion is golden, and he had returned the Vedas to Lord Brahma.
So that Lord Brahma is receiving that, sitting.
Yes, this is Lord Brahma. And somebody had stolen the Vedas, and therefore then Hayagriva had returned them to Lord Brahma. Here we have Varaha, who saves planet Earth from the waters, and then he kills Hiranyaksh. Vamandev is the dwarf incarnation who took 3 steps of land, who asked for 3 steps of land from Bali Maharaj. And Narsimadev, of course, he came to protect Prahlad, and he killed Hiranyakashipu. So they are all eternally existing in the spiritual sky.
So the
How about the
horse-
other ones? How about the other forms?
All of them are here. Some are mentioned, like, Devaki is
Okay.
often prayer, so she mentions some names. But yes, all these plenary expansions are eternally existing in the spiritual sky.
Okay.
Next.
After many millions of years, when Lord Brahma comes to the end of his life, the inhalation of the cosmic manifestation takes place. At that time, the five elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, and ether, enter into the Mahatattva. The Mahatattva then enters by the force of time into the non-manifested total material energy. The total material energy enters into the energetic Pradhana, and the Pradhana enters into you. Therefore, after the inhalation of the whole cosmic manifestation, you alone remain with your transcendental name, form, qualities, and paraphernalia. My Lord, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you because you are the director of the unmanifested total energy and the ultimate reservoir of the material nature. My Lord, the whole cosmic manifestation is under the influence of time, beginning from the moment up to the duration of the year. All act under your direction. You are the original director of everything and the reservoir of all potent energies.
So we have already explained Mahatattva and Pradhana. See, as in the in which order creation takes place, then destruction takes place in the reverse order. Everything goes into the body of Garbhodakashay Vishnu, then all the universes enter into the body of Mahavishnu at the time of destruction. So you see, even Devaki is fully aware of the supreme position of Krishna, although he is there and he is her son. Her relationship with Krishna is that of awe and reverence. So she is offering respectful obeisances to Krishna. Next.
All the conditioned souls are continually fleeing from one body to another and one planet to another, yet they do not get free from the onslaught of birth and death. But when one of these fearful living entities comes under the shelter of your lotus feet, he can lie down without anxiety of being attacked by formidable death. This statement by Devaki is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita by the Lord himself. There, the Lord says that even after traveling all over the universe, from Brahmaloka to Patal Loka, one cannot escape the attack of birth, death, disease, and old age. But one who enters the kingdom of God, the Lord says, is never again obliged to come to the material world. Therefore, my Lord, I request you to save me from the cruel hands of Kamsa, the son of Ugrasena. I am praying to your Lordship to please rescue me from this fearful condition, because you are always ready to give protection to your servitor. The Lord has confirmed this statement in the Bhagavad Gita by assuring Arjuna, you may declare to the world, my devotees shall never be vanquished.
So from the Brahma Loka to Patal Loka, from the highest planet in the universe to the lowest planet in the universe, everyone is going through these problems of birth, death, disease, and old age. So Devaki is praying to Krishna that please help me, rescue me from this fearful condition. See, this material world is a place of anxiety. Everyone, irrespective of who one may be, is going through anxieties. Spiritual world is a place where there is no anxiety. That's the meaning of the word Vaikuntha. Vai means no, without, and Kuntha means anxiety. So Vaikuntha is a place where there is no anxiety. But the nature of the material world is the exact opposite of the spiritual world. So she's praying to Krishna for protection. She says that, yes, you always protect your devotees. So therefore now, please protect me from the hands of Kamsa. Next.
While thus praying to the Lord for rescue, Mother Devaki nonetheless expressed her motherly affection. I understand that this transcendental form is generally perceived in meditation by the great sages, but I am still afraid because as soon as Kamsa understands that you have appeared, he might harm you. So I request that for the time being, you become invisible to our material eyes. In other words, she requested the Lord to assume the form of an ordinary child. My only cause of fear for my brother Kamsa is due to your appearance. My lord Madhusudana, I wish that Kamsa may not learn that you are already born. Therefore, I request you to conceal this four-armed form of your lordship, which holds the four symbols of Vishnu, namely the couch, shell, the disc, the club, and the lotus flower. My dear Lord, at the end of the annihilation of the cosmic manifestation, you put the whole universe within your abdomen. Still, by your unalloyed mercy, you have appeared in my womb. I am surprised that you imitate the activities of ordinary human beings just to please your devotee.
So now Devaki wants Krishna to appear as an ordinary child, because remember, Krishna is in the 400 Vishnu form with all the jewelry and the silken clothes and the Srivatsa mark and all those things. So she's saying that please please take the form of an ordinary child, because she doesn't want that Kamsa should know that now, yes, Krishna has appeared. So that's her request to Krishna. Next.
On hearing the prayers of Devaki, the Lord replied, My dear mother, in the millennium of Swambhuva Manu, my father Vasudeva was living as one of the Prajapatis. His name at that time was Sutapa, and you were his wife named Krsna. At that time, when Lord Brahma was desiring to increase the population, he requested you to generate offspring. You controlled your senses and performed severe austerities. By practicing the breathing exercises of the yoga system, both you and your husband could tolerate all the influences of the material laws, the rainy season, the onslaught of the wind, and the scorching heat of the sunshine. You also executed all religious principles. In this way, you were able to cleanse your heart and control the influences of the material laws. In executing your austerity, you used to eat only the leaves of the trees which fell to the ground. Then, with a steady mind and controlled sex drive, you worshipped me, desiring some wonderful benedictions from me. Both of you practiced severe austerities for 12,000 years by the calculation of demigods. During that time, your mind was always absorbed in me. When you were executing devotional service and always thinking of me within your heart, I was very much pleased with you. O sinless mother, your heart is therefore always pure. At that time also I appeared before you in this form, just to fulfill your desire. And I asked you to ask whatever you desire. At that time you wished to have me born as your son. Although you saw me personally, instead of asking for your complete liberation from material bondage under the influence of my energy, you asked me to become your son.
So now Krishna is explaining how Vasudeva and Devaki in a previous lifetime, they were Sutapa and Prishni, and they did such severe austerities. Why? Because they wanted that Krishna to be born as their son. And for how long they have practiced severe austerities? For 12,000 demigod years. See here, 12,000 years by calculation of the demigods. So what is this demigod years? According to the calculation of the demigods, 1 day or 12-hour period of them is 6 months on earth. 12 hours of the demigods is equal to 6 months on earth. So 100 years of the demigods is equal to 36,000 earth years. So they have done this severe austerity for 12,000 demigod years so that they can have Krishna as their son. So Krishna is now telling Devaki and Vasudeva what they were in the previous life. Let's continue.
In other words, to appear in the material world, the Lord selected his mother and father, namely Krsna and Stupa. Whenever the Lord comes as a human being, he must have a mother and a father. So he selected Krsna and Stupa to be his mother, and father perpetually. And on account of this, neither Prasni nor Stupa could ask the Lord for liberation. Liberation is not so important as the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The Lord could have awarded Prasni and Stupa immediate liberation, but he preferred to keep them within this material world for his different appearances, as will be explained in the following verses. On receiving the benediction from the Lord to become his father and mother, Stupa and Prasni retired from the activities of austerities and lived as husband and wife in order to beget a child who was the Supreme Lord himself.
So see, Prishni and Sutapa, even after they did so many austerities, they got Krishna as their son, still they did not get liberation. Why? Because the Lord wanted to keep them within this material world for his different appearances. Although they deserve to go back to the spiritual world, yet the Lord engaged them in his service as he wanted to again come and take birth to them. This is what we were discussing. Not everybody who walks the planet is necessarily here because he does not deserve liberation. It's probably because the Lord is using them for another service. So what else? How again they were born? Let's see. I mean, how again Krishna was born to them as what was their birth? Let's see here.
In due course of time, Prasni became pregnant and gave birth to the child. The Lord spoke to Devaki and Vasudeva. At that time, my name was Prasanna. In the next millennium, you took birth as Aditi and Kashyap, and I became your child of the name Upendra. At that time, my form was just like a dwarf, and for this reason, I was also known as Vamana Deva. I gave you the benediction that I would take birth as your son 3 times. The first time I was known as Prasanna, born of Prasani and Stupa. In the next birth, I was Upendra, born of Aditi and Kashyap. And now for the third time, I am born as Krishna from you, Devaki and Vasudev. I have appeared in this Vishnu form just to convince you that I am the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, again taken birth. I could have appeared just like an ordinary child, but in that way, you would not have believed that the Supreme Personality of God had taken birth in your womb. My dear father and mother, you have therefore raised me many times as your child with great affection and love, and I am therefore very much pleased and obliged to you. And I assure you that this time you shall go back home, back to Godhead on account of your perfection in your mission. I know you are very concerned about me and afraid of Kansa. Therefore, I order you to take me immediately to Gokula and exchange me for the daughter who has just been born to Yashoda.
So the first lifetime explained here is Prishni and Sutapa, and the Lord appeared as Prishni Garbha. Then again, as Aditi and Kashyapa, the Lord appeared as Upendra or Vamanadev. Upendra is another name of Vamanadev. It means the younger brother of Lord Indra. And then now third birth is as Devaki and Vasudev, and Krishna has personally appeared to them. So Krishna is explaining that, yes, these are the 3 births and this is how I have appeared. And now what does he want? He says that take me to Gokul and exchange me for the daughter of Yashoda. Yashoda has just given birth to a daughter. So he's saying, take me to Gokul and exchange me with her. We have like 2-3 slides more. So please bear with me for the next few minutes so that we can complete the chapter. Let's continue.
Having spoken thus to his father and mother, the Lord turned himself into an ordinary child in their presence and remained silent. Being ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva prepared to take his son from the delivery room. And exactly at that time, a daughter was born to Nanda and Yashoda. She was Yogamaya, the eternal potency of the Lord, internal potency of the Lord. By the influence of this internal potency, all the residents of Kamsa palace, especially the doorkeeper, were overwhelmed with deep sleep, and all the palace doors open, although they were bare and shackled with iron chains. The night was very dark, but as soon as Vasudeva took Krishna on his lap and went out, he could see everything just as in the sunlight.
So Yogamaya is creating circumstances to facilitate that Krishna can be exchanged with the daughter of Yashoda. So the palace guards have gone to sleep. The chains are open. And although it is very dark, remember it was 12 midnight when Krishna appeared, Vasudeva is able to see everything very, very clearly. So Yogamaya is creating the favorable situation so that Krishna's instruction can be carried out. Next.
In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that Krishna is just like sunlight, and that wherever there is Krishna, the illusionary energy which is compared to darkness cannot remain. When Vasudeva was carrying Krishna, the darkness of the night disappeared. All the prison doors automatically opened. At the same time, there was thunder in the sky and severe rainfall. While Vasudeva was carrying his son Krishna in the falling rain, Lord Shesha, in the shape of a serpent, spread his hood over the head of Vasudeva so that he would not be hampered by the rainfall. Vasudeva came in onto the bank of Yamuna and saw that the water of the Yamuna was roaring with waves and that the whole span was full of foam. Still in that furious future, the river gave passage to Vasudeva to cross, just as the great Indian Ocean gave a path to Lord Rama when he was bridging over the gulf. In this way, Vasudeva crossed the river Yamuna. On the other side, he went to the place of Nanda Maharaj, situated in Gokula, where he saw that all the cowherd men were fast asleep. He took the opportunity to silently enter the house of Yashoda, and without difficulty, he exchanged his son for the baby girl newly born there. Then, after entering the house very silently and exchanging the boy for the girl, he returned to the prison of Kamsa and silently put the girl on the lap of Devaki. He again clamped the shackles on himself so that the Kamsa could not recognize that so many things had happened.
So even the Yamuna river has given way so that Vasudev can cross over and go to Gokul, and where he can exchange the son born to him with the daughter born to Yashoda. And then he comes back, puts the shackles on, everything is now restored, all because of the influence of Yogamaya. And the daughter born to Yashoda was who?
Yogamaya.
Yogamaya. See, here you can see how Anantashesha also comes there and he protects the Lord from the rain and the thunder. And you can see Yamuna is giving way so that Vasudeva can walk through. The last slide, let's read.
Mother Yashoda understood that a child had been born to her, but because she was very tired from the labor of childbirth, she fell fast asleep. When she awoke, she could not remember whether she had given birth to a male or a female child. Thus ends the Bhagavad Vedanta purport of the 3rd chapter of Krishna, the birth of Lord Krishna.
So Yogamaya has also put Yashoda to sleep so that she doesn't remember that, when Yashoda doesn't know that she has given birth to a girl child. So Yashoda has been put to sleep by Yogamaya. With this, we come to the end of this chapter by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. In the next class, we will see chapter 4. Kamsa begins his persecutions. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Jai. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji. Koti koti dandat
Thank
pranam.
you.
Shri Gurudev ki jai. Nam Mataji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Leela
Mataji,
ki
can I ask you one